Captain Dae-hyun stood on the bridge of the UHS Indomitable and watched the stars disappear. One by one, they blinked out as the ship entered hyperspace. This was it. The final jump. The one they would never come back from. He looked around at his crew. Lieutenant Ji-woo sat at the navigation console, her young face pale but determined. Chief Engineer Tae-yang monitored the engines from his station, talking quietly to the ship like it was a living thing. Dr. Hana checked her weapon systems one more time. Sergeant Kyung-soo stood near the door with his Marines, silent and ready. Communications Officer Bo-ra had her headset on, listening to the final messages from the colonies. They all knew what this mission meant. Earth was gone, burned to ash by the Vrin Collective 3 years ago. The alien empire had been consuming species for thousands of years, and now it was humanity's turn to die. Most of the human colonies had already fallen. Only a few scattered outposts remained, hiding in the dark corners of space waiting for the end. But humanity had one last card to play. Operation Eternal Defiance. 7 warships loaded with experimental weapons, sent deep into Vrin space to destroy the hive mind nexus. If they could kill the central consciousness that controlled all Vrin forces, the entire empire would collapse. It was a desperate plan. A suicide mission, but it was better than waiting to die. The Indomitable was the lead ship. Dae-hyun had been given command because he had nothing left to lose. His wife and daughter had died on Earth. He had watched the planet burn from orbit, unable to help. The memory still haunted him every night. But now he had a purpose. He would make the Vrin pay. Jump complete in 30 seconds, Ji-woo called out. Her voice was steady, but her hand shook slightly on the controls. She was only 28 years old. Too young to die. But then again, they were all too young for this. Dae-hyun gripped the armrest of his command chair. This was it. They were jumping straight into Vrin territory. Intelligence said the enemy wouldn't expect an attack this deep in their space. Intelligence had been wrong before. 10 seconds, Ji-woo said. The ship shuddered. Reality twisted around them as they punched through the fabric of space. For a moment, everything went silent. Then the universe snapped back into focus and all hell broke loose. Contact! Multiple contacts! Bo-ra shouted. They were waiting for us! The view screen lit up with enemy ships. Dozens of them. Vrin warships were unlike anything human. They were organic, grown rather than built. Massive creatures of chitin and flesh bristling with weapons. They looked like deep-sea nightmares brought to life in the void of space. The first salvo hit before Dae-hyun could even give orders. The ship rocked violently. Alarms screamed. The lights flickered. Shields at 60%. Tae-yang called out. We can't take many more hits like that. Return fire. All weapons! Dae-hyun ordered. The Indomitable's guns roared to life. Railguns, plasma cannons, and missile pods unleashed everything they had. Around them, the other 6 human ships did the same. Space became a storm of fire and death. But there were too many Vrin. The enemy ships swarmed like insects, coordinated by their hive mind. They moved as one, anticipating every human tactic. Within seconds, the UHS Valiant exploded in a ball of fire. Then the UHS Vengeance. Then the UHS Phoenix and the UHS Thunder. 4 ships gone in 30 seconds. Just like that. Hundreds of lives snuffed out. Dae-hyun felt each loss like a physical blow. But he couldn't stop. Couldn't hesitate. Get us out of here. Emergency jump! He shouted. Engines are damaged. Ji-woo replied, her fingers flying over her console. I can do a short jump, but it won't be clean. Do it! The ship lurched. Reality twisted again. When they emerged, they were alone. Just the Indomitable, the UHS Defiant, and the UHS Requiem. 3 ships out of 7. They had barely made it into Vrin space, and they had already lost more than half their fleet. Then something worse happened. A voice echoed through the bridge. Not through the speakers. Inside their heads, cold, ancient, amused humans. We have been expecting you. It was the hive mind, the Vrin consciousness that controlled billions of creatures across 1,000 worlds. It was speaking directly to them. You think you can destroy us? You think this desperate attack means anything? Your species is already dead. We consumed your homeworld. We have studied you. We know your fears, your weaknesses, your pain. We have tasted the memories of your prisoners. You are nothing but meat. Dae-hyun felt sick. The voice was everywhere, pressing against his mind. Several crew members collapsed, holding their heads and screaming. Dr. Hana rushed to her console, activating some kind of neural dampener. The pressure eased slightly, but the voice remained. We will let you continue, the hive mind continued. We want you to see the Nexus before you die. We want you to understand how hopeless your mission is. Run, little humans. Run toward your doom. We will enjoy watching you break. Then the voice was gone. The bridge fell silent except for the sounds of damaged systems and quiet sobbing from some of the crew. Captain, Bora said, her voice barely a whisper. I'm receiving a transmission from Sanctuary Station. Sanctuary was the largest remaining human colony. 200,000 people, families, children. Daehyun felt his blood run cold. Put it through, he said. The audio came through. Screaming. Weapons fire. Then a man's voice, broken and desperate. They found us. The Vryn found us. They're everywhere. They're in the station. God, they're eating people alive. Please, someone help us. Please. The transmission cut off with a wet, gurgling sound. Bora's face had gone white. Her hands were shaking. My sister, she whispered. She was on Sanctuary. She had a daughter. My niece, no one spoke. There was nothing to say. They all knew what had just happened. 200,000 people, gone, just like that. Daehyun stood up. His hands were clenched so tight his knuckles had turned white. He looked at his crew, at the survivors, at the people who had volunteered to fly into the heart of darkness knowing they would never come home. Contact the Defiant and the Requiem, he said quietly. His voice was cold now, hard. Tell them we push forward. Maximum burn. We don't stop. We don't slow down. We reach the Nexus and we kill every last one of these things. Captain, Taeyang said carefully, the ship is damaged. We're running on emergency power. We might not make it. Daehyun looked at his engineer. We were dead the moment we volunteered for this mission. We all knew that. But we're not just going to die. We're going to take them with us. Every single one of them. He turned to face the view screen. Out there, somewhere in the darkness, was the Nexus. The heart of the Vryn Empire. The thing that controlled every alien ship, every alien soldier, every alien thought. Set course, he ordered. Full speed ahead. The Indomitable's engines flared to life. Beside them, the Defiant and the Requiem did the same. 3 battered ships against an empire. 3 crews who knew they were already dead, but they weren't going quietly. Not now, not ever. Daehyun sat back down in his chair and stared at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, his wife and daughter were waiting for him. Soon he would join them. But first, he had work to do. 3 days into Vryn space and the Indomitable was falling apart. Taeyang moved through the engine room, his hands covered in grease and burns. Sparks flew from broken conduits. Warning lights flashed red everywhere he looked. The ship was dying and he knew it. Come on, girl, he muttered, patting the hull with one scarred hand. Just a little longer. That's all I'm asking. Just get us to the Nexus and then you can rest. The ship groaned in response. Metal stressed beyond its limits. Systems operating far past their safety margins. The starboard engine was completely dead. Life support was down to 60%. They had maybe 3 days left before everything shut down completely. On the bridge, Jiwoo stared at her navigation display with hollow eyes. She hadn't slept in 2 days. None of them had. The Vryn were hunting them constantly, appearing at random intervals to attack and then vanish. It was like being stalked by wolves. They're playing with us, she said to no one in particular. They could overwhelm us anytime they want. But they're not. They're letting us run. Daehyun knew she was right. The Vryn had sent small attack groups, enough to damage but not destroy. They wanted the human ships to suffer, to feel hope drain away slowly. It was psychological warfare and it was working. 2 crew members had committed suicide yesterday. They had walked into an airlock and opened the outer door. Just like that. No warning. No goodbye. The Vryn's mental attacks were getting through the neural dampeners. Images of loved ones dying. Memories of Earth burning. The voices never stopped whispering. Dr. Hana worked frantically to improve the dampeners, but the Vryn adapted faster than she could counter. It was like fighting smoke. Every time she blocked one frequency, they found another way in. Captain, Bora called out. We're passing through a debris field. Old ships. Looks like multiple species. Daehyun looked at the view screen. Space was filled with ancient wrecks. Hundreds of them. Ships from dozens of different designs, all dead and drifting. This was a graveyard of civilizations. The 17 species, Dr. Hana said quietly. The ones the Vryn consumed before us. They all tried to fight back. They all failed. Jiwoo scanned the wreckage with her instruments. Captain, one of those ships still has power. Minimal, but it's there. That shouldn't be possible after all this time. Daehyun made a decision. Bo-ra, contact the Defiant and Requiem. Tell them to hold position. We're going to check that ship. 20 minutes later, Daehyun, Kyung-soo, and Dr. Hana stood inside the alien vessel. It was massive, easily twice the size of the Indomitable. The interior was strange, built for beings much larger than humans. Everything was covered in dust and decay, but there was still power. Emergency lights flickered in the darkness. And on the bridge, they found something incredible, a data terminal still functioning after centuries. Dr. Hana connected her portable computer to the alien system. The language was unknown, but she had translation software that could handle most universal mathematical patterns. After a few minutes, text began appearing on her screen. "It's a captain's log," she said, her voice shaking. "The ship is called the Althir's Pride. They were the last survivors of their species. They made it within 2 light years of the Nexus. Closer than anyone else," Kyung-soo said. "What happened to them?" Dr. Hana scrolled through the data. They found something. A weakness. The Nexus draws power from a nearby pulsar. If you disrupt the energy feed, the Nexus becomes vulnerable. They calculated a window of 47 minutes. Daehyun felt his heart race. Why didn't they use it? They tried, but they didn't have the right weapons. They couldn't get close enough to the pulsar to deploy their device. The Vrin overwhelmed them here. Dr. Hana looked up. But we might be able to do it. Our gravity disruptors could work. We just need to get someone close to the pulsar. That's a suicide run, Kyung-soo said. The radiation from a pulsar would cook anyone alive in minutes. We're already on a suicide run, Daehyun replied. But now we know how to make it count. As they left the alien ship, Dr. Hana downloaded all the data she could find. Star charts, technical specifications, the last message of a dead species. At the end of the log, there was a final entry. Dr. Hana read it aloud. "We failed. Our people are gone. Our worlds are ash. But we leave this information for whoever comes after us. May you succeed where we could not. May you end this horror. May you give our deaths meaning." Back on the Indomitable, Daehyun gathered his senior officers. He told them about the discovery, about the weakness, about the chance they now had. "We need 4 more days to reach the Nexus system," Jiwoo said. "The ship won't last that long." "She'll last," Tae-yang said firmly. "I'll make sure of it." "The Requiem is in worse shape than we are," Bo-ra added. "They've got hull breaches on 7 decks. Their captain says they might not make it another day." The words had barely left her mouth when alarms started screaming. Vrin ships were emerging from hyperspace all around them. 50 of them. "Maybe more. This is it," Jiwoo said. "This is the trap they've been leading us toward." The view screen flickered. A massive alien form appeared. It was grotesque, a biological construct of flesh and chitin pulsing with unnatural life. It spoke with 1,000 voices, all harmonized into one. "You have done well to come this far, humans. But your journey ends here. We wanted you to see the Nexus from a distance. We wanted you to know how close you came before you died. Consider it our gift to you, a final moment of hope before we crush it forever." The Vrin ships opened fire. The space around them became a storm of energy and death. The Indomitable's shields buckled immediately. The Defiant took a direct hit to its reactor. "Captain," the Defiant's commander said over the comm. His voice was calm, too calm. "My reactor is going critical. I've got maybe 2 minutes before we explode." Daehyun felt his chest tighten. Commander Won-shik had been his mentor, the man who taught him everything about being a captain. "Abandon ship," Daehyun ordered. "Get your crew to the escape pods." "No time for that," Won-shik replied. "But I can buy you time. I'm going to ram the nearest dreadnought. Get the others out of here, Daehyun. Finish this. Make it count." "Commander." "That's an order, Captain. Now go." The Defiant's engines flared to maximum. The ship accelerated straight toward the largest Vrin warship. Daehyun watched helplessly as his mentor's ship grew smaller on the screen. Then it hit. The explosion was blinding. The Vrin dreadnought and 3 other ships were vaporized instantly. The shockwave scattered the enemy formation, creating a gap. "Now," Daehyun shouted. "Emergency jump! Go, go, go!" The Indomitable and the Requiem jumped. When they emerged, they were alone. Just 2 ships left now. 2 crews. Getting closer to the Nexus with every passing hour. But they had lost so much. The Defiant was gone. Commander Won-shik was gone. And they still had 4 days to go. Daehyun stood on the bridge, staring at the empty space where the Defiant had been. His crew looked to him for orders, for hope. For something, he took a deep breath. Set course for the Nexus, maximum speed. We don't stop for anything. Not for repairs. Not for rest, nothing. Sir, Tae-yang said quietly. The ship will hold, Dae-hyun interrupted. Because it has to. Because we have to. Commander Won-shik gave us this chance. We're not going to waste it. He looked at each of them. Ji-woo with her tired eyes, Tae-yang with his burned hands, Dr. Hana with her guilt, Bora with her grief, Kyung-soo with his quiet strength. We're all dead, he said simply. We've been dead since the moment we left on this mission. But we get to choose what our deaths mean. So let's make them mean something. The Indomitable's engines burned bright in the darkness. Ahead of them, somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, was the Nexus. And they were coming for it. The Nexus system appeared on their sensors like a wound in space. Dae-hyun stared at the readings and felt his blood turn to ice. This was it. The heart of the Vrin Empire. The source of all their nightmares. Sensors are going crazy, Ji-woo said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. There are thousands of ships in that system. Maybe tens of thousands. And the Nexus itself. Captain, I've never seen anything like it. The view screen zoomed in. The Nexus was massive. A moon-sized structure of organic tissue orbiting a dying red star. It pulsed with a sickly green light. And even from millions of kilometers away, they could feel it pressing against their minds. Neural networks visible from space. Billions of consciousnesses trapped inside, screaming silently. Dr. Hana ran her analysis. It's alive. Not just a computer. It's made from the consumed minds of every species the Vrin absorbed. Humans, Althir, all 17 races. They're all in there. Still aware. Still suffering. How many? Kyung-soo asked. Billions. Maybe trillions. Every mind the Vrin ever consumed is in there. Enslaved. Forever. The bridge fell silent. The horror of it was too big to comprehend. This wasn't just about destroying an enemy. This was about mercy. About ending an eternal nightmare. The pulsar is here, Ji-woo said, highlighting a point on the star map. 5 million kilometers from the Nexus. That's where we need to deploy the gravity disruptor. And between us and that pulsar, Bora added, are approximately 1,200 Vrin warships. Dae-hyun studied the tactical display. There was no way through. Not directly. They would be destroyed in seconds. But there was an asteroid field. Debris from a planet the Vrin had consumed centuries ago. It was suicide to fly through it, but it might give them cover. Ji-woo plot a course through that debris field. Use the asteroids for cover. Get us as close to the pulsar as possible. Captain, that's... Ji-woo stopped. She saw the look on his face. There was no other option. Course plotted. It's going to be rough. Contact the Requiem, Dae-hyun ordered. Tell Captain Minji we're making our run. Bora's face went pale. Sir, the Requiem isn't responding. I'm reading. Multiple hull breaches. Life support is failing. They're dead in space, another ship gone. Another crew lost. Dae-hyun felt the weight of each death like a stone in his chest. Can they evacuate? Negative. Their escape pods are offline. Captain Minji is ordering her crew to the bridge. She says they're going to draw the Vrin away from us. Buy us time. The view screen flickered. Captain Minji appeared. She was young, maybe 35, with blood running down her face from a head wound. Behind her, the bridge was in chaos, sparks, smoke. Crew members working desperately at their stations. Captain Dae-hyun, she said with a tired smile. Looks like we're not making it to the finish line. But we can give you one last gift. We're going to set our reactor to overload and fly straight into that Vrin formation. Should create enough chaos for you to slip through. Captain, it's already done, Minji interrupted. My crew voted on it, unanimous. We didn't come this far to give up now. Finish this, Dae-hyun. For all of us, the transmission cut off. The Requiem's engines flared to life one last time. The crippled ship accelerated toward the Vrin fleet, trailing debris and atmosphere from its ruptured hull. The Vrin ships moved to intercept. But they were too slow. The Requiem plowed into the center of their formation and exploded. The blast was tremendous, destroying dozens of enemy vessels and sending hundreds more tumbling out of formation. Go, Dae-hyun shouted. Now! The Indomitable dove into the asteroid field. Ji-woo's hands flew across her controls, calculating trajectories faster than any computer could. The ship twisted and turned through impossible spaces. Asteroids the size of mountains flashed past them, missing by meters. Vrin ships followed them in. but the tight spaces worked against them. Their massive organic vessels were too slow, too clumsy. They smashed into asteroids and each other. But some got through. Energy blasts rocked the Indomitable. Hull plates tore away. The shields were gone. They were taking direct hits now. The ship screamed in protest. Hull integrity at 30%. Tae Yang's voice came through the comm. We're venting atmosphere on decks 4 through 7. I've sealed the bulkheads, but we've lost 40 people. 40 more deaths. 40 more names that would never go home. But they couldn't stop. Couldn't slow down. We're through. Jiwoo gasped. Clear of the field. The ship emerged on the other side of the asteroid belt. Ahead of them was the pulsar, a rapidly spinning star that pulsed with deadly radiation, and beyond it the Nexus. Dr. Hana, Daehyun said. Is the gravity disruptor ready? Yes, but someone has to take it close to the pulsar. Plant it manually. The radiation will be extreme. How long will they survive? Maybe 10 minutes. Even in a shielded shuttle. Tae Yang's voice came through the comm. I'll do it. Tae Yang, Daehyun started. I'm the engineer, Tae Yang said simply. It's my job to fix things. This is just one more repair. I'll take Shuttle 3. Give me 15 minutes to load the device, Daehyun wanted to argue. To find another way. But there wasn't one. Make it count, old friend. Always do, Tae Yang replied. 20 minutes later, Daehyun watched on his screen as the small shuttle left the Indomitable's bay. It was so tiny compared to the pulsar, a speck of metal and flesh flying toward certain death. The radiation readings climbed as Tae Yang got closer. Everyone on the bridge could hear him breathing over the comm, fast, labored. He was in pain. Almost there, Tae Yang said. His voice was weak now. Just a little closer. Tae Yang, your vitals are critical, Dr. Hana shouted. You need to come back now. Can't. Need to deploy it manually. Controls are fried, he coughed. Blood probably. Tell the ship. Tell her I'm sorry. I promised I'd keep her running. But she got us here. That's what matters. Device deployed, Tae Yang said. Activating in 3, 2, 1. The pulsar's energy output changed. The steady rhythm disrupted. The flow of power to the Nexus began to fluctuate. It's working, Dr. Hana shouted. The Nexus is losing power. Shields are dropping. Tae Yang, Daehyun said. Get out of there. Come home. Static. Then barely audible. Can't. Engines are dead. It's okay. I'm tired anyway. Go, finish it. Make them pay. The signal died. On the screen, the small shuttle drifted closer to the pulsar, pulled in by gravity. Then it was gone. Vaporized by the radiation. Daehyun closed his eyes for a moment. Another friend gone. Another sacrifice. How many more would it take? Captain, Jiwoo said softly. The window is open. We have 47 minutes, Daehyun opened his eyes. They were hard now, cold. Full burn toward the Nexus, arm all weapons. This ends today. The Indomitable accelerated. The Nexus loomed ahead of them, massive and terrible. The Vryn ships were in chaos, scrambling to protect their heart. But they were too slow. The humans had surprise on their side. And then something changed. The voices came. Not from the hive mind this time. From the Nexus itself. Billions of voices screaming in unison, help us. End this, free us, please, the pain. The eternal pain. Kill us. Kill us all. Dr. Hana wept at her console. Bora covered her ears. Even Kyungsu looked shaken. These weren't just Vryn voices. These were human voices. The voices of everyone who had died on Earth, on the colonies, everyone the Vryn had consumed. They're all still alive, Dr. Hana sobbed. Still aware. Oh God, they're all still suffering. Daehyun stood up. He walked to the view screen and pressed his hand against it. Out there, his wife and daughter were trapped in that nightmare. Still aware. Still in pain, I'm coming, he whispered. Hold on, I'm coming. He turned to his crew. This isn't just about revenge anymore. This is about mercy. We're going to free them. All of them. The Indomitable broke through the Vryn defensive line. Ahead of them, the Nexus pulsed with dying light. 45 minutes left, all weapons, Daehyun said. Fire. The Indomitable's weapons hammered the Nexus, railguns, plasma cannons, nuclear missiles. Everything they had. The massive structure shuddered under the assault, but it wasn't enough. The outer shell was regenerating faster than they could damage it. 40 minutes left. Jiwoo called out. We're not even scratching it. Dr. Hana worked frantically at her console. analyzing the damage patterns. The outer shell is too thick. We'll never punch through from out here. But the core, if we can reach the biological heart where the hive mind consciousness is centralized, we can destroy it. How? Daehyun demanded. We have to go inside, fly into the nexus through the breach we created, deliver our remaining fusion warheads directly to the core. The explosion will trigger a cascade collapse. The entire structure will die. That's suicide, Kyung-soo said. We're already on a suicide mission, Daehyun replied. This just makes it official. Ji-woo, take us in. The young officer's hands trembled on the controls. Captain. That thing is alive. We'll be flying into a living creature. I know. Take us in. The Indomitable turned toward the breach. It was massive. A wound in the Nexus's side the size of a city. But as they approached, they could see it closing. The organic tissue was regenerating, trying to seal itself. We have to hurry, Dr. Hana said. If that breach closes, we'll be trapped inside. Full speed, Daehyun ordered. They plunged into the Nexus. The view screen showed nothing but nightmare. Pulsating walls of flesh. Neural pathways the size of buildings glowing with bioluminescent light. Organic tendrils reaching for the ship, trying to grab it to pull it into the tissue. The hull began to corrode. The Nexus was trying to digest them, trying to absorb the ship and everyone inside it. Hull integrity failing, Tae-Yang's replacement engineer shouted. We've got maybe 5 minutes before the hull dissolves. The core is 2 kilometers ahead, Dr. Hana called out. I'm reading massive energy signatures. They broke through into a massive chamber. It was like flying into a cathedral made of living tissue. At the center was the core. A swirling mass of consciousness glowing with stolen life. The voices were deafening now, screaming directly into their minds. Ji-woo collapsed at her station, blood streaming from her nose and ears. Dr. Hana rushed to her, injecting her with neural suppressants. But they were only temporary measures. They had minutes before everyone's mind broke. Captain, Kyung-soo said. He stood at attention, his Marines gathered behind him. The ship's systems are fried. Someone has to arm the warheads manually. We volunteer. Daehyun turned to face him. Sergeant, sir, with respect, you've carried this weight long enough. Let us carry it the rest of the way. That's what we're here for. The other Marines nodded. 12 of them. Young and old. Men and women. All volunteers. All knowing they would never come back. Daehyun wanted to argue, to find another way. But there wasn't one. Make it count, Kyung-soo saluted. Always, sir. The Marines left the bridge. Daehyun watched them go. Good people. Brave people. They deserved better than this. Through the internal cameras, he watched them fight their way to the warhead storage. Vrin drones had infiltrated the ship. Organic creatures the size of dogs with too many teeth and claws. The Marines fought them off, their weapons echoing through the corridors. One by one, the Marines fell, pulled down by the drones, killed by the environment, consumed by the neural assault. But they kept going, kept pushing forward. Kyung-soo was the last one standing. His armor was torn. Blood ran down his face. But he reached the warheads. All 6 of them arranged around the core's outer wall. First warhead armed, he said over the comm. His voice was calm, professional, like he was reporting a routine maintenance check. He moved to the second. A drone lunged at him. He killed it with his bare hands, then continued arming the device. Second warhead armed. Third, fourth, fifth. Each one bringing them closer to victory, closer to the end. At the 6th warhead, Kyung-soo collapsed. He was dying. The radiation from the core, the neural assault, the physical wounds, but he pulled himself to his feet one more time. 6th warhead armed, he said. His voice was barely a whisper now. All devices ready for detonation. Captain, it's been an honor. The honor was mine, Sergeant. Kyung-soo sat down, leaning against the final warhead. He looked at peace. Tell my family. Tell them I did my job. I will. The sergeant closed his eyes. His breathing stopped. The last Marine was gone. On the bridge, the hive mind manifested. Not as a voice this time, as a physical projection. A massive form that appeared on the view screen, made from the combined images of every species it had consumed. Why do you fight? It asked. Its voice was 1,000 voices speaking in unison. Your species is extinct. Your worlds are ash. This changes nothing. You are dust. Daehyun stood up. He walked to the view screen and stared into the face of the thing that had killed his family. His world. His species, you're right, he said quietly. Humanity is gone. Our worlds are dead. We're just the last echo of a dying species. He smiled. It was cold, hard, final. But we're not dust. We're fire, and we're taking you with us. He turned to Dr. Hana. Detonate the warheads. Captain, we're still inside the Nexus. We won't survive. I know. Do it. Dr. Hana looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Her fingers moved across the console. Detonation in 10 seconds. Daehyun looked at his crew. Bora was holding Jiwoo, who was barely conscious. Dr. Hana stood at her station, calm and ready. The others, the survivors of a dead world, all looked to him one final time. It's been an honor serving with you, he said. All of you. 5 seconds, Daehyun thought of his wife, his daughter. Soon he would see them again. Not trapped in this nightmare, free, at peace. 3 seconds, he closed his eyes. 1. The warheads detonated, all 6 at once. The fusion reactions tore through the core, vaporizing the biological tissue. The neural networks shattered. The consciousness that had enslaved billions screamed once, then went silent. The explosion spread through the Nexus like fire through dry wood. The massive structure convulsed. Chunks of organic matter broke away. The green light that had pulsed with stolen life began to fade. The Indomitable was caught in the blast wave. Systems failed. The hull began to buckle. They were dying. This was the end, but then something impossible happened. The Nexus in its death throes convulsed one final time. A shock wave of pure energy erupted from its core, and the dying structure expelled everything inside it. The Indomitable was thrown clear, tumbling through space like a leaf in a storm. Daehyun opened his eyes. He was alive. The bridge was dark. Emergency lights flickered, but he was alive. Report, he croaked. Bora's voice came from the darkness. We're outside the Nexus. How? The explosion, Dr. Hana said weakly. It must have ejected us. We shouldn't be alive. But we are. Daehyun pulled himself to his feet. Through the view screen he could see the Nexus. It was breaking apart. Huge chunks of organic matter drifting into space. The light was gone. The screaming voices were silent. Around them, Vryn ships floated dead in space. Organic vessels rotting without the hive mind to control them. Millions of ships. All dead. We did it, Jiwoo whispered. We actually did it. Daehyun sank back into his command chair. They had won. Against all odds. Against an empire that had consumed 17 species. A handful of humans on a dying ship had won. But the cost. Commander Wonshik, Captain Minji and her crew, Tae-young, Kyung-soo and his Marines. Hundreds more, all dead. All sacrificed for this moment, Bora. Daehyun said quietly. Send a message. To any human colonies still out there. Tell them it's over. We won. Bora's hands shook as she worked her console. Then she gasped. Captain, I'm receiving transmissions. Multiple sources. Human colonies. They're responding. New Terra, Outpost Meridian, Kepler's Hope. They survived. We're not alone. For the first time in years, Daehyun felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. Daehyun woke up in a bed. A real bed, soft sheets, clean air. The smell of something cooking in the distance. For a moment he thought he was dreaming or dead, but the pain in his body was too real for either of those. He sat up slowly. He was in a medical bay, not the Indomitable's cramped infirmary. This was something else. Bright, clean. There were windows showing a planet outside. Blue sky, green trees, living things. A woman in a medical uniform entered. She smiled when she saw him awake. Captain Daehyun. Welcome back. You've been asleep for 3 days. Where am I? His voice was rough. Dry. New Terra. The colony ship CSS Horizon found your vessel drifting in Vryn space. They brought you here. Daehyun tried to stand. The room spun. The nurse helped him back down. Easy. You were exposed to massive radiation. Neural trauma. Multiple injuries. You're lucky to be alive. My crew, he said. Where are they? 23 survivors. They're all being treated. Dr. Hana and Bora are in the next ward. Jiwoo is in intensive care but stable. 23. Out of 180. So many lost. But 23 had lived. Against all odds, 23 had survived. The door opened again. A woman in a captain's uniform entered. She was maybe 40, with gray streaking her dark hair. She looked at Daehyun with something close to awe. Captain Daehyun, she said. I'm Captain Insu of the CSS Horizon. It's an honor to meet you. She knelt beside his bed. Tears ran down her face. You saved us. You saved all of us. The Vryn are gone. Every ship. Every drone. Dead. The galaxy is free because of what you did. Dae-hyun felt his own tears coming. We lost so many. Commander Won-shik, Captain Minji, Tae-yang, Sergeant Kyung-soo, hundreds more. Insu nodded. And because of them, billions will live. The colonies are organizing. We're sending ships to search for more survivors. We're rebuilding, all because you refused to give up. Over the following weeks, Dae-hyun recovered. He walked the streets of New Terra, a small colony of 50,000 people who had survived by hiding in a nebula. Children played in the parks. People worked in the fields. Life continued. He visited his crew in the hospital. Dr. Hana was pale but alive. She told him about the analysis of the Nexus's destruction. The cascade had been perfect. Every neural connection severed simultaneously. All the trapped consciousnesses had been freed, including the humans, including his family. Bora was quieter now. She had lost her sister and niece, but she had saved her final recordings. Every message, every moment. She was working on a memorial database, ensuring that everyone who died would be remembered. Ji-woo was still in intensive care but improving. The neural damage had been severe, but the doctors said she would recover. When Dae-hyun visited, she smiled weakly. Did the math work out, Captain? She asked. He nodded. Perfectly. A month after the Nexus's destruction, the colonies organized a memorial service. A massive wall of black stone was erected in the center of New Terra's capital. On it were carved the names of every human who had died in the war. The names of the 7 ships were there. The Indomitable, the Defiant, the Requiem, the Valiant, the Vengeance, the Phoenix, the Thunder, and beneath them thousands of names, crew members, colonists, everyone who had fallen. At the center an eternal flame burned, a light that would never go out. A reminder of what had been lost, and what had been saved. Dr. Hana stood before the crowd and gave the eulogy. Her voice carried across the silent gathering. They knew they would never return. Every single one of them understood that this was a one-way journey. But they went anyway. Not because they wanted to die, but because they wanted us to live. She paused, wiping her eyes. We stand here today because of their sacrifice. We breathe because they stopped breathing. Our children will grow up free because they chose to die fighting. That is humanity. That is who we are. The crowd stood in silence. Then, one by one, they placed flowers at the base of the memorial. Thousands of people, all alive because of what the crews had done. Dae-hyun placed his own flower. A white lily, for his wife and daughter. For Won-shik and Minji. For Tae-yang and Kyung-soo. For all of them, years passed. The colonies grew. More survivors were found. The Althir, who humanity had thought extinct, had a small population that had survived in hiding. Other species, too. All the races the Vryn had tried to destroy had remnants scattered across the galaxy. They came together, shared their knowledge, built new alliances. The galaxy began to heal from the Vryn's long reign of terror. A distant species, the Quran, exploring the ruins of Vryn space, found Bora's final transmission. They recovered her logs, her recordings, the evidence of humanity's last stand. They broadcast it across the galaxy. The story spread, of 7 ships that had gone into the darkness, of crews that knew they would never return, of humans who had refused to die quietly. It became legend, a tale told across 1,000 worlds. The Quran sent a delegation to New Terra. They met with Dae-hyun, now an old man, his hair white, his body bent with age. But his eyes were still sharp, still alive. The Quran ambassador bowed deeply. Your species was facing extinction. You were outnumbered, outgunned, already defeated, but you refused to surrender. You taught the galaxy what it means to have courage, what it means to hope. Dae-hyun smiled. We just did what needed to be done. And that, the ambassador said, is why your story will never be forgotten. The colonies continued to grow. New Terra became a hub of trade and culture. Other human settlements thrived. Children were born who had never known the Vryn, who had never seen Earth, but they knew the stories. They knew about the Indomitable, about the crews who had saved them all. A salvage team found the Indomitable drifting in deep space. The ship was scarred, broken but still intact. They brought it back to New Terra, restored it, made it into a museum. People walked its corridors, touched the walls where heroes had stood, read the names of the crew, heard their stories. The ship became a symbol, a reminder of what humanity had endured and what it had overcome. Dae-hyun visited the ship one last time. He was dying. Cancer. The radiation from the Nexus had finally caught up with him. The doctors said he had months, maybe weeks. He stood on the bridge. His bridge, the command chair was still there, preserved behind glass. He could almost hear the voices of his crew. Ji-woo calling out coordinates, Tai-yang reporting engine status, Bo-ra receiving transmissions, Dr. Hana analyzing data, Kyung-soo standing guard. They were all gone now. Ji-woo had lived another 30 years before passing peacefully in her sleep. Dr. Hana had founded a medical research center that bore her name. Bo-ra had written a complete history of the war, ensuring that future generations would never forget. Dae-hyun was the last, the final survivor of the Indomitable's crew, and soon he would join the others. He placed his hand on the glass protecting the command chair. "We kept the promise," he whispered. "We made it count." A young woman approached him. She was maybe 20, wearing a cadet uniform. She had come to the museum with her class. She recognized him immediately. "Captain Dae-hyun?" she asked hesitantly. He turned to her and smiled. "Just Dae-hyun now, no ranks." "Not anymore." "My name is Yuna," she said. "I'm training to be a ship's officer. Because of you." "Because of what you did?" She gestured to the memorial wall displaying all the names. "My instructor says we should never forget. That we should remember why these people died, so we can live up to their example." Dae-hyun nodded. "Do you know why we remember them?" Yuna straightened. "Because they showed us that even at the end we have a choice. We can give up or we can fight. They chose to fight." "That's right," Dae-hyun said. "And because of them, you're here to make that same choice. To decide what kind of person you want to be, what kind of future you want to build." He looked at her, at this young woman who represented everything they had fought for. "A future, a chance, hope. Make it count," he said quietly. "Whatever you do, whoever you become, make it count." Yuna nodded. She placed her hand over her heart in a salute. Then she rejoined her classmates. Dae-hyun stayed on the bridge a while longer. He thought about his crew, his friends, the people who had become his family in those final days. They were waiting for him now. Somewhere out there in the darkness, he took one last look at the command chair, at the ship that had carried them through hell and back, the vessel that had refused to die quietly. "Thank you," he whispered, "for getting us there, for bringing some of us home." He left the bridge, walked through the corridors one final time, past the engine room where Tae-yang had worked miracles, past the medical bay where Dr. Hana had saved so many lives, past the communication station where Bo-ra had sent her final message to the stars. When he stepped off the ship, New Terra's sun was setting. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple. Beautiful. Peaceful. He stood there for a long time, watching the light fade, thinking about endings and beginnings. 3 weeks later, Captain Dae-hyun passed away in his sleep. The entire colony mourned. Ships from across the human settlements came to New Terra for the funeral. Other species sent representatives. The Koran, the Althir, dozens more. They buried him beside the memorial, beside the names of his crew, where he belonged, where he had always wanted to be. And every year on the anniversary of the Nexus's fall, the colonies observed a moment of silence, not for mourning, but for remembrance, for gratitude. Because the Indomitable,